Hello Make It Yourselfers and carnivores. Today I am going to show you how to make a great carnivore snack. This is perfect for those who are following the carnivore diet, the ketogenic diet, ketovore, or just anybody who's looking for a fun alternative to something to snack on. Now I got this frozen meat slicer, which is relatively inexpensive. You can get these online. Now you want to cut this when it's frozen so that you can get a really fine cut, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be dehydrating this so that the meat gets nice and crispy. I bought some different cuts of meat. This is beef. This was actually, they didn't say what part it was. They called it beef for roasting. So I bought a piece of that and I stuck it in the freezer. I also got some pork loin. Actually, I think this was the pork sirloin. And I did get the loin, which was a little bit bigger. And so we'll try both of these, give them a try. And then this is a turkey sirloin. What I'm gonna do now is just start slicing the different types of meats, and then we're gonna put these over on the dehydrator tray. Now, until we get to the straight part, some of these pieces might get kind of small. And you can also adjust the thickness on this. I like to keep it nice and thin so that the pieces are nice and crispy. I've been doing just maybe a little bit over a millimeter, almost a millimeter to 2 millimeters. I found that if you slice really thin, it's very difficult to spread these out. And this still makes a really nice crispy chip. Future Me has come just to share some of the things I found now that I have made so many batches of these meat chips. I've now found that my favorite meat chips are from what they call lomo de cerdo here in Spain. It's a type of pork loin. I'm not sure the difference between this, and then there's also another one that's solomillo, which would be pork sirloin. Maybe that is the same way in English where it's loin and sirloin. I found that this has a little bit of fat, not too much, but just enough to add more flavor, and I just like the texture of the chips made with this so much better than the ones made with the sirloin, which are a lot drier. They don't have as much fat. The chips themselves don't have the same texture. They're much harder. The ones with the fat, this may sound strange, but they remind me of a Pringles. The other ones are just harder and drier, and while they're still good, these are the ones I like the best. I know I told you when I was recording before to try to avoid lots of fat in it. I found that they're really good when they do have the fat in them. The only problem is for long-term storage, but I haven't found that we can ever store them for very long. In fact, this is the meat chip jar that's in the kitchen. And I just made these the other day and they're gone again. And when people come home, everybody runs to the meat chip jar to snack on them. And yesterday everyone was like, are there no meat chips? Are there no meat chips? And my plan was to make some yesterday, but I got hung up on making toothpaste and a few other recipes that I was recording for you, and I never got around to making more meat chips. So today I have to make more of these. Again, my son's favorite were the pork loin ones and the turkey ones. The turkey ones, again, are on the drier side. I thought I liked those a lot more at first, but I've come to the realization now that I like these a lot better. My husband's favorite were the beef ones, but now he quite likes these too. And I think it depends a lot on the cut of meat and just the way you feel in a certain day. I think they're all delicious. The only con to making those is once you start, everybody's gonna want them and people will become dependent on you making these a lot. Luckily, it's quick and easy to make, and I love them too. In fact, I might love them a little bit too much. I found that a lot of times when I'm no longer hungry, and I've already eaten dinner, I'll find myself snacking on a couple of these, and they're quite nutrient dense. So I'm trying to get out of that habit. I'm going to make some more of these because not everybody in my family will complain. Luckily, these are very easy to make, as you see. What takes the longest is actually putting the slices of meat on the tray. But you get quite quick at cutting these. And luckily, when you're using something like the pork loin that's quite large, it doesn't take very long to fill your tray up either. I can get through and fill up all 6 trays of my dehydrator in just a few minutes, less than 10 minutes now, which is good because everybody's asking me for these all of the time. One of the reasons I decided to make these is I know that there is a commercially sold product like this in the United States called Carnivore crisps. I had my mom order some. I can't get those here in Spain, but I had my mom order some in the States and try them out to see how she liked them. And what we found is that they were quite pricey, and she didn't like them because they were too salty for her taste. The nice thing about making your own, though, is you can totally adjust the salt, and if you don't want any salt at all, you can make it yourself. So she's gonna be looking into making her own too and testing them out to see how close they are to the Carnivore crisp, since that's something that I can't do myself. Whether or not they are like Carnivore crisps, I don't care. I love these. We make them all the time, and I think they're great. I like to add a little bit of the salt and sprinkle it on right when they're thawing before I stick them into the dehydrator. But if you want a little bit less salt, you can also just sprinkle a little bit on once they are dry. And if you don't want salt at all, just don't use it. This is just so much easier actually than having to order something online. You can save a lot of money and you can make them with the meat you want. You know, you can choose organic if you want. You can use whatever quality meat you like and can afford, and just save yourself a lot of money. And it really is not difficult at all. I just finished cutting up that entire pork loin, and I'm going to just sprinkle a little bit of the smoked salt over top of them before putting these trays into the dehydrator. With one pork loin that weighed around 800 grams, so that's probably around 2 pounds, that cost me €4 here, and that was enough for 6 of these trays of the meat chips. It's really not that pricey, and this will be more than enough to fill up my meat chip jar. Hello again. These actually dried up really quickly. I was surprised, although I started dehydrating them so late last night that's why I'm showing them to you this morning. Within even an hour and a half, they were already starting to get crispy. I left them a little bit longer, and I'm glad I did. Letting them dry a bit longer gave them more of a chip consistency and just dried them further. And I was surprised by how delicious these are. I especially like the turkey and pork ones, which I thought that the beef were going to be my favorite, and while I do like those, I think these remind me more of a potato chip. They have more of that chip texture, and both meats worked super well with that smoked salt. I felt like that salt just really brought out the flavor in these meats. The beef ones are delicious. I don't know if I would necessarily use the smoked salt on this one again. I really liked it on these. I'm curious to try just regular salt on the beef ones next time and see what I like best. I have this cut of meat that has the fat in it, and while that's delicious, you might want to watch out for that if you are going to try to keep these for longer. Just because even though the fat has been dried out and it's slightly cooked in the dehydrator, it's not fully rendering. So it's going to go rancid more quickly. And this would keep a lot longer without the fat. Although if you were going to be making these to eat right away, that's not a problem, and it helps you get in a little bit of extra healthy fat intake. Now, in the past, I had tried making my own chips before my meat slicer came. And you can try to do it with deli meats, which I wasn't a big fan of. But I thought, well, I'll try making my own deli meat because I have a meat press. And I can show you how you can make your own deli meats in another video. But I thought, Well, I had seen somebody else try dehydrating their own and they seemed to quite enjoy them. So I thought, well, I'll give that a try too. And these I just find more hard. They don't have that chip-like consistency that the thinly sliced meat does. And it's just much harder. It feels more like a hard cracker. I find these much better. They have the consistency of a chip. The only problem I see with these is portion control, maybe, just because it's so easy to eat a lot of them because they're so delicious. And I would think that with this being dehydrated, you could easily eat quite a bit of meat without even realizing it. But I think this is really great for traveling and for just, having something healthy to snack on while you're waiting to finish up your dinner if you just can't wait and you're really hungry. I just imagine that for traveling on an airplane, this would be so much better than anything that they would give you on the plane, and you don't have to worry about eating cold meat. This is just a delicious way to get in your food, especially if you're on a ketovore or carnivore diet. Definitely give it a try, see which ones you like. I think all three are delicious. I was really surprised by how much I liked both of these. I'm not normally a huge fan of turkey just because I find the meat kind of dry. And in this case, because it's supposed to be dry and crispy, it just worked wonderfully. I find them delicious. I would easily snack on any of these. If you enjoyed this recipe, give it a thumbs up. And I would love for you to subscribe to my channel to get more recipes like this one, and also to learn a little bit about how to make your own cosmetics and soaps if you're into that thing to avoid toxins, not just in your food, but in what you put on your body. I hope you're having a great day. Until next time.